And a good Thursday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live this morning on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. Don't forget that you can take the show with you 24/7 on demand by checking out the Nick Craig Show in your favorite podcast app. You can also listen online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our show this morning is brought to you in part by the Law Group here in Wilmington for any legal challenges you might be dealing with. LawGroupNC.com. We'll hear more from them coming up a little bit later on in the program this morning. All right, we've got a busy show to get you through this morning as President Donald Trump addressed the nation last night, prime time, 9 p.m., addressing the nation from the White House. A little bit of a fake out on his behalf. There are, of course, those on the political left were under the impression that Trump's address was going to announce that we were going to war with Venezuela, and I think that forced the hand of a lot of these media outlets, a lot of the news outlets, to break into their coverage and cover the address that Trump was going to give, because there was some rumor. I would suspect that it was intentionally put out by the Trump team to force the mainstream media networks to cut into their primetime programming and air the president's remarks, which turned out to be 20 minutes of accomplishments. 20 minutes of talking about what has happened over the last 11 months, 20 minutes of this is the situation I took over, and these are the things that I'm doing to correct it. I'm going to play you the president's comments in their entirety this morning and jump in and comment on some things. But right off the top, not that I'm not negative on Trump. Well, we had some pretty frank discussions in our monthly hangout last night. It was great chatting with everybody. But I think people want quicker results. People want more action. I fall into that category as well. I understand that government is a bureaucracy. I get that it's like turning around a big freight liner. I mean, it is a very slow process. You don't turn around a cruise ship on a dime. It takes some time to do. It's a slower process, and I understand that fact. I'm aware of that situation. But I think people are starting to get a little antsy as we get close to, or less than a month away from 12 months in the Oval Office, and they want results. And they're getting some, absolutely. And the president highlighted that things are improving, and they're going to continue to get better, and so on and so forth. But I think folks are getting a little bit antsy over the time that's remaining. The discussion about a potential lame duck president as we head into 2027, depending on the results of the midterm election. This was a very strong speech from President Donald Trump last night, and hopefully it was a good motivating tool for maybe some folks on the political right that have found themselves maybe a little frustrated with the lack of immediate results from this administration. I think maybe it kind of hit the mark on that and walked some of this stuff forward. So without further ado, here is the President of the United States last night addressing the nation.
In America, 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug dealers, gang members, and even 11,888 murderers, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country.
I'm going to pause the president right there. We are 60 seconds in. So first minute, and he obviously has some very smart people around him, those that are putting speeches like this together. And unlike what you are probably accustomed to seeing with presidents, yes, he has speech writers, but a lot of the words that came out of the president's mouth last night, it is obvious that he was the one who wrote the vast majority of this speech. He probably had his team clean it up, of course, and maybe change around some of the order of things in which they were said. But that is as good of an open as you could possibly get. Again, remember the kind of laying out how this played out. 9 p.m. last night. All the cable news networks break in. All of the traditional broadcast networks break into their programming that's supposed to be on at 9 o'clock to air this address from the president. And within the first 60 seconds, he lays out a similar case that he laid out in the 2024 presidential election. That this was a messy situation. The country was unfortunately heading in the decline due to failed leadership, a failed administration that had served for 4 years, and he was going to clean it up. And so when you're looking at, the first things that stick with people, he talked about that right off the top. Very smart move by the president and his team.
And it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals ever made, and our country was laughed at from all over the world. But they're not laughing anymore. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before.
The president here is really harping back to a lot of his campaign points, which is good. I mean, you run on a variety of issues. You plead your case to the American people as to why you should be elected, or in this case, reelected back into the office of the presidency. And when he highlights what the Democrats were fighting for, this is not political theater. This is not political show. This is a very accurate representation. Democrats feel that those coming into the country illegally are more important than you and I. They believe that pandering to criminals in the name of racial justice or racial equality, allowing dangerous, hardened criminals out on the streets, terrorizing communities, murdering people like Irina Zarutska, illegal stabbing people on the Charlotte light rail like happened less than 2 weeks ago in the city of Charlotte. They believe that those individuals are more important than law-abiding American citizens. That is a fact. It's not political show. It's not a nice right-wing talking point. That's a fact. We've got a lot of strong evidence to back this up. Cashless bail reform policies in places like New York and California, soft on crime district attorneys in blue cities across the country, including places like Charlotte, sheriffs like the previous sheriff in Mecklenburg County, who decided that it was his responsibility to not cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that it was his obligation to give a big old middle finger to the federal government, give a big old middle finger to the people of Charlotte, and prioritize illegal aliens, individuals who are not supposed to be in the United States. They don't have legal immigration status. Prioritize them over the safety and security of law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. Folks, it's not cheap talking points. This is a very, very real thing. And I'm glad the president highlights this and calls this out less than 90 seconds into his comments last night. Again, very, very strong open, laying the groundwork, setting the stage for what situation he walked into. And some of these issues, like illegal immigration, like the economy, which he's going to get into, these were driving factors for a lot of voters. And I mean a lot of voters in November of 2024. We looked at the political polling just back, was about two or 3 weeks ago. Some of the final political polls from Fox News and the New York Times and Wall Street Journal or Washington Post and some other places right ahead of the presidential election. And we saw a very consistent theme: economy, jobs, inflation, crime, illegal immigration, some smattering of those issues, all within the top couple of reasons in which people were being driven to the ballot box in November of last year. So this is, again, not some cheap political talking points. This is stuff that is obviously a concern for the American public, and they want this administration to fix this issue, to clean and roll back the clocks on some of these things. They want inflation to go down. They want illegal immigration to subside. And this administration has a mandate, as the president noted right at the beginning. He got a mandate. Well, the American people have a mandate. They want this stuff fixed. That's why they voted for him. More from President Trump.
They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work. And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president. We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. In other words, in a few short months, we went from worst to best. We're deporting criminals, restoring safety to our most dangerous cities. Just take a look at Washington, D.C. It's at levels of safety that we've never seen before. And they decimated the bloodthirsty foreign drug cartels. We did that all by ourselves with our people, and we're so proud of it because they were poisoning and destroying our population. Drugs brought in by ocean and by sea are now down 94%. We have broken the grip of sinister woke radicals in our schools, and control over those schools is back now in the hands of our great and loving states where education belongs. After rebuilding the United States military in my first term, and with the addition we are adding right now, we have the most powerful military anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. I've restored American strength, settled 8 wars in 10 months, destroyed the Iran nuclear threat, and ended the war in Gaza, bringing for the first time in 3,000 years peace to the Middle East, and secured the release of the hostages, both living and dead. Here at home, we're bringing our economy back from the brink of ruin. The last administration and their allies in Congress looted our Treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22%, and in many states, 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now, under our leadership, they are all coming down and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year.
I'm going to pause the president here again. The economy is undoubtedly, and this is not unique to Trump. It's not unique to Biden. This is an issue that is held, I guess, responsible by every administration. You know, we talked a little bit about this in our monthly hangout last night for those that support the show over at patreon.com/Nick Craig. Most people, and this is important. Here, follow me through on this. Taking a little side quest this morning. Most people are not very in tune politically. They're just not. They are busy. They're working. They're raising their family. They're running their kids around to sporting events and after school stuff. They're busy. They're not political wonks. They're not entrenched in the politics like you and I are, right? I've said this for years now. You know, we are the 1%. I mean, we're not normal, I put that in quotes, in comparison to the vast majority of the American public. You are hyper engaged in politics. Most people are not. And it's why the domestic economy is such a pivotally important issue for every administration. Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, it does not matter. The domestic economy is arguably, let me rephrase. It is not arguably. The domestic economy is and will likely always be the largest issue for people. Why? Because even if they're not engaged in politics, even if they're not doing research and watching and reading and listening to political content to form an opinion, they're buying stuff. They're going to the grocery store. They're shopping for vehicles. They're looking at buying homes. They're dealing with this stuff day in and day out. The economy, I don't know that I'd say it's inherently political, but political decisions can have, and as we saw in the past couple of years, can have a major impact on the U.S. economy. And it's one of the reasons why I have made the comment in the past that, you know, the president highlighted some of the war and global peace and various successes that he's had internationally. And I'm not saying that stuff's not important. I'm very glad that the president was able to accomplish some of those things. I'm not a fan of people dying or getting killed. I don't like war. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not some war hawk that loves war and loves death and loves destruction. But for the vast majority of people, they really care about what's going on at the grocery store. Am I going to be able to put presents under the tree this Christmas? Am I going to be able to afford to have a nice family dinner for Christmas? Am I next year in 2026? Am I going to be able to save enough every month or every 2 weeks whenever I get paid? Am I going to be able to save enough for that family vacation? But that's the real stuff. We talk about the kitchen table issues in politics. It doesn't get more kitchen table than that. And it's why I am hopeful, and we'll hear this more from the president, that as we turn the page to 2026 here in just a couple of weeks, that we see a huge focus, and I would say the key focus of this administration moving through 2026 needs to be the domestic economy. It has to be. It is the largest political issue by far. And that doesn't mean ignore everything else. That doesn't mean push everything else to the back burner. That's not what I'm saying. But there needs to be a renewed, keen interest on the domestic economy. Republicans in the midterm elections will determine who is going to lead government for the next 2 years, I would say probably exclusively based on the economy. That election is a long time away. No question about it. I'm not projecting a victory or a loss at this point. Way too far away for that. The issues that, there could be some major issues that determine that midterm election that have not yet even happened. It might not happen for months. It could be 6 months. And so the focus has to be on these domestic issues. That is what people care about. That is what individuals are dealing with day in and day out, especially during the holiday season. And so I'm glad that the president is highlighting this. I'm glad that the president is bringing some of these receipts, showing some of these cost reductions. And as he noted, we're going to continue on it, and more unequivocally has to be done. American people, Republicans, even some Democrats and those in the middle wanted economic relief. They thought President Trump could do it. He's well on his way to doing it, but the results need to be more immediate. No question about it. Here's more from President Trump.
After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully by other countries against us, but not anymore. Companies know that if they build in America, there are no tariffs, and that's why they're coming home to the USA in record numbers. They're building factories and plants at levels we haven't seen, AI, automobiles. We're doing what nobody thought was even possible, not even remotely possible. There has never, frankly, been anything like it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
I'm going to pause the president here for a second. Got some good commentary coming in on our live chats this morning. Comment coming in. It says, the problem, too, is insurance and taxes are up. Healthcare is up. Food is about the same. Gas is down, but it hasn't bled over to the store shelves. Exactly. And that is to be expected, right? You don't. We were in really tough economic times not that long ago. Roll back the calendar 16, 20, 24 months. Things were really, really rough. In the summer of 2022, you had inflation at 9.5 freaking percent. People were drowning economically. It was really, really tough out there. No question about it. And so the changes are being made. The tax season in April, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm curious what that's going to look like for me, and I'm sure many of you are curious what it's going to look like for you. As some of the tax reforms codified in the one big beautiful bill. But there's so many different factors when I say the economy, there's so many different things that are the economy. It's not just the price of goods at the grocery store. It's not just the cost of gas, which, by the way, is down big time. I mean, the gas stuff, and I've got a couple of interesting tweets I'll show you here in a few minutes. Gas is down, but not everything is down. And again, it's a slow change. It does not happen overnight. It doesn't even happen in a year. And so the question is going to be what, some of the lingering impacts of these economic changes. When do they really get kicked into full gear? It takes some pretty significant time. And what is the economy going to look like 8 months from now, right? We'll be in the thick of the midterm elections. We'll be just 2 months or so away from people going out and voting. What is the economy going to look like? That is the $1 million question. The work is continuing. It's good work. No question about that. How long does it take? People are clamoring for relief. The president has done a very good job of delivering it. Unfortunately, those things just take time. The economy is a very large animal. It's a very large thing. You don't snap your finger and things just magically fix themselves. It's a slow process. More from President Trump.
Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time. Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way, we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes. In addition,
this is a huge announcement. I mean, of course, media is not going to really jump on this because it's not a story that they can spin in a negative light. But giving over 1 million members active members of military service here in the United States, giving them a nearly $2,000 check is substantial. It is very substantial. President is is claiming that that's possible due to some of the money taken in by tariffs and some of the other policies of this administration. This is a huge, huge announcement for military service members across the United States, and even those that are currently, active duty, not here domestically, but serving around the globe. It's a major announcement. $1,776, nearly a $2,000 check. That is going to help a lot of people as we turn the calendar into 2026. We'll get more from President Trump coming up here in just a couple of minutes as he addressed the nation last night, coming up as we sit here, just crazy to say, 1 week away from Christmas, the president addressing the nation last night. We'll get to some more of his comments here in just a couple of minutes. Before that, I want to thank the law group, Melissa Gott and her team, for their continued support of the Nick Craig Show, and let you know that if you have any legal questions that may exist across southeastern or eastern North Carolina, you've got to reach out to the law group. When legal challenges arise, put your trust in the law group. For more than 22 years, their experienced attorneys have provided high-quality, affordable legal services. Regardless of the issue you might be facing, the law group has your back. Their dedicated team ensures your questions are answered and issues are resolved as quickly as possible. Great news, folks. It's not some big national law firm. They live in our community. They live right here in Wilmington with you and I, and they're just a phone call away at 910-251-6088, or you can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Give them a call, 910-251-6088, or their website, lawgroupnc.com. The Law Group, experience and dedication you can rely on. Appreciate Melissa Gott and the amazing team over at the Law Group for their continued support here of the Nick Craig Show. All right, President Trump addressing the nation last night, a primetime address, 9 p.m. from the White House, talking about the situation that he walked into, the situation that he campaigned on, years of horrific economic decisions that left much of the U.S. economy in a really tough and brutal position, unfettered illegal immigration with tens of millions of people coming into the United States over the span of just a couple of years, and the impacts that that has had across the United States, and laying out that things are beginning to turn around. Things are in place. We're working through the process, and we're going to continue to do so. More from President Donald Trump last night.
I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward. And I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction. They stopped ripping us off, and it began as of 4 days ago. There has never been anything like this in the history of our country. Drugs have only gone up, but now they'll be going down by numbers never conceived possible. It's called Most Favored Nation. And no president has ever had the courage or ability to get this done until now. The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, TrumpRx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care. I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people, that's you, so they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower costs. It will be far better health insurance.
I'm going to pause the president right there. This is something that undoubtedly he and Congress is going to have to get solved very soon. Just the open enrollment deadline for January 1st was the 15th. And so I went through the process of purchasing insurance through the open exchange, the same plan that I had last year, which is a terrible plan, doubled in price. And so again, we talk about the economy. We talk about what people are feeling. So yes, gas comes down, in some states under $1.99 a gallon, but your health insurance has gone up by $200 a month. Right. So it's, yes, some relief on the price of gas. Yes, some relief on the stores of the grocery store. Some of the shelves there, prices down. Sure. But does it outweigh a $200 plus a month increase on your healthcare premiums? Probably not. I mean, unless you're driving day in and day out and you're burning through a tank of gas every 2 or 3 days. It's just not weighing out. You're not seeing that difference. And that's why fixing the so-called economy is a very tough thing, because there's so many different elements of it that are hard to deal with. Trump has got to do something about healthcare costs as we get into next year. He has to. It is a major, major issue for American families. I'm glad that the ACA stuff has expired. I mean, it hurts me personally, but that's not the solution. Kicking the can down the road on this longer and we'll deal with it next time. We know damn well that's not going to happen. This administration needs to deliver a major win on healthcare in 2026. They have to. And it very well could be the game-changing factor that drives Republicans to success in the midterms.
The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost, and you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy But that's okay with me because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost. Another major focus is the cost of energy. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Electricity costs surged 30 to 100% under Biden, and the typical family lost $5,000 to $10,000 in higher energy costs. Think of that, $5,000 to $10,000 you lost. On day one, I declared a national energy emergency. Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in much of the country. In some states, it, by the way, just hit $1.99 a gallon. And within the next 12 months, we will have opened 1,600 new electrical generating plants, a record, and it's a record that won't be beaten by practically, I would say, by anybody, or certainly not very soon. Prices on electricity and everything else will fall dramatically. The Democrat inflation disaster, again, the worst in the history of our country, also robbed millions of Americans of home ownership and indeed the American dream. The yearly cost of a typical new mortgage increased by $15,000 under Democrat rule. In 11 months, we've already gotten that annual cost down by $3,000, and it's coming down a lot lower. Wait till you see. The numbers are going to be shocking. And I'll soon announce our next chairman of the Federal Reserve, someone who believes in lower interest rates by a lot, and mortgage payments will be coming down even further. Early the new year, and you will see this, in the new year I will announce some of the most aggressive housing reform plans in American history. A major factor in driving up housing costs was the colossal border invasion. We have never been invaded. This is the worst thing that, frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing while your rent and housing costs skyrocketed. Over 60% of growth in the rental market came from foreign migrants. At the same time, illegal aliens stole American jobs and flooded emergency rooms, getting free health care and education paid for by you, the American taxpayer. They also increased the cost of law enforcement by numbers so high that they are not even to be mentioned. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration as migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens, 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation. Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars from Minnesota and indeed from the United States of America. And we're going to put an end to it. For so long as before my election, the vast majority of good and decent Americans were forced to watch as corrupt politicians plundered the halls of power, exploited our taxpayers, and pillaged every system that makes civilized society function. But not anymore, and you see that every day, not anymore. We're putting America first, and we are making America great again. Very simple. We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected, and our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
That's President Donald Trump at the White House last night in his address to the nation, running just under 20 minutes as he talked about what happened over the last 11 months or so since he's been in the Oval Office, highlighting some of the major accomplishments of his administration, while at the same time saying that more work has to be done, progress needs to continue, and I'm in full agreement there with the president's comments. More does need to be done. People voted for change in November of 2024. They got change. I'll be the first to say that. That is absolutely happening. That is absolutely going on right now. And the question is going to be, is the impact of it, is it actually being felt? Is it enough? And so it's pretty funny to watch the reaction to this speech. Of course, Democrats, we know this. The reason we don't capitulate to them, the reason that we don't bow down and have to defend ourselves to them is because they don't support us. They're not a fan of us. They don't support our policies. They don't do any of this. They object to everything that you and I believe. Full stop. And so they, of course, immediately after this event, took to the keyboards, took to social media, took to the major news networks. Gas prices aren't actually that low. That's actually not happening. I caught this post from the guy who is in charge of Gas Buddy. If you're not familiar, it's an app where you can go on and look at the price of gas stations all across the country. Some professor of something or other was complaining about gas prices, which the president noted are below $2 a gallon in many states, saying, oh, well, that's not accurate. The only place that you can get gas in these states is at places like Costco and Sam's Club and membership outlets. And so the CEO of Gas Buddy tweeted at 3:57 this morning saying, Gas Buddy confirms through direct price reports from station transaction data from our own Pay with Gas Buddy card and merchant receipts that some stations are below $2 in 7 states today, and plenty of non-membership stations in Colorado are well below $2 a gallon. I mean, so they're, I will admit it's kind of funny to watch those on the political left talk about the economy. It's pretty funny to watch individuals who spent the entire Biden administration convincing you and me and convincing themselves that transitory inflation was a real thing, that this is not permanent. 9.5% inflation in 2022 isn't a problem. They convinced us of that. You'll remember during the Biden administration, inflation was the hot topic, and it wasn't long term. It wasn't going to last. It was transitory. It was only temporary, even though it would go on for years. And so the same folks that wanted to ignore, and for a large part did ignore the economy under the Biden administration because there was nothing positive to talk about. There was no major issues that they could say, oh, look at this sector of the economy that's doing well. The whole thing was a disaster. Those individuals now want to challenge this administration on the economy. As we talked about earlier this week, I'm not going to defend the president's actions to people who are and were woefully dishonest about what happened in the past. I am not going to be lectured on the status of the economy by Democrats and liberals and progressives that ignored the economy under Joe Biden. I'm not going to be lectured. And it's very interesting to see the CEO of Gas Buddy, who, by the way, is not a political guy. I have followed him on Twitter for years now because I always try to keep track of national gas prices. It's always a major issue. It's something that people interface with, in some cases, multiple times a week. And the fact that he blew out this narrative on the, social media saying, is what you're saying is not accurate. Yes, of course, gas is always going to be lower at places like Costco and Sam's Club. Their membership clubs, part of the yearly membership cost is slightly lower gasoline prices. This is not a fact that everybody is not already aware of. They know this. They're fully aware of what a membership club is and how that process works and what the perks and benefits are, like cheaper gas. But there are, in fact, gas stations all across the United States that are showing significantly lower prices. Getting a post in on X this morning, it's hard to spin receipts. You're damn right on that. It is very hard to, when you can literally install a free app on your phone and see the price of gasoline literally anywhere across the country. It's really hard to look at that and say, oh, that's not accurate. This is a lie from the administration. And so I pulled some of these states from GasBuddy. Again, a great app that shows you the price of gas across the U.S. And so I just want to look at a couple of these this morning because I think it's relevant. Here's the state of Colorado. The top 3 cheapest stations in the state are Costco's and Sam's Clubs. Absolutely. Membership clubs, cheaper gas. But then you've got Murphy Express. That's a regular gas station that anybody can go into. A place called Maverick, which I looked up, also just a private gas station. Mobil Exxon, Shell stations, all of these well below $2 a gallon. I mean, these Shell stations in Colorado Springs are at $1.85. So that's what's going on in Colorado. Here is Kansas. Same thing. Sam's Club is the lowest gas at $1.99. So maybe that fits the agenda. But you've got a Love's, $2, Maverick, $2.04, very close to that $2 mark. Similar situations in Missouri. Gas at or below $2 a gallon. Oklahoma, same situation. Your Sam's Club and those other places have the lowest, but plenty of private stations well below $2 a gallon. So that's going on there as well. Similar situation in Texas. No surprise there. Gas is always a little bit lower in Texas, but here's Buc-ee's, Texaco's, all below $2 a gallon. Even the Walmart gas station, which is public, $1.96 a gallon 10 hours ago in Texas. And similar situation in South Dakota. Gas below $2 a gallon in all of these places. So even with that, they can't make a salient argument. Even with that, they can't win on the issue. Some reporter, a reporter for NPR tweeted at the White House, will the White House disclose its source for prices? The White House responded and said, yeah, here you go. Here's all the links to GasBuddy, which is a user-reported app. I mean, GasBuddy doesn't set the prices. You as a user pull up to a gas station and confirm the price of a tank of gas. You verify it with the app. It's a crowdsourced app. Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and South Dakota. Here are the receipts. It's literally publicly available information. And you had to have a producer of NPR ask if the White House is going to disclose the information. Pretty ironic. I don't remember NPR being that concerned about gas prices under Joe Biden. I don't remember NPR worrying about the state of the overall U.S. economy. I remember them covering the economy, covering up the situation that was existing, parroting the talking points out of the administration over transitory inflation this, transitory inflation that, prices aren't that bad this, prices aren't that bad that. That's exactly what they did when they had the opportunity to hold the Democrat Party and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and his administration responsible. They chose not to. In taking a look at some additional commentary coming in on our live chat this morning, Aqua Blue says, let them pay last year's prices, have a separate Biden pump. It's always an opportunity, always a solution. If you're pissed off with gas at $1.85 a gallon, I mean, I guess you can fill up somebody else's tank for free. I guess that would be if you want to spend more on gasoline, fill up somebody else's tank too. So you not only get yours, but then you can fill up somebody else's, help them out, and pay about the same amount of money. So maybe that's a solution for those that want to gripe and complain about gas prices. All of this is in large part due to the president's domestic oil policies. And so the results, we're seeing the results. There are plenty that we can point to over the last 11 months. Other facets of the economy takes a little bit longer. And so the work continues. I hope, and I don't have any reason to believe otherwise, that the administration keeps their foot, no pun intended, on the gas pedal all the way wide open, as down as far as it goes, as we speed towards midterm elections 11 months from now. The American people need to see results. They voted for change. They voted to slash the status quo. They want results. The president is giving them results, and there is more work that needs to be done. So that is the president's address to the nation last night, faking out media, essentially forcing them to cover it by leaking out rumors that the president was going to declare war on Venezuela. So all the networks cut to it, and it was nothing more than Trump saying the Democrats completely screwed up the country. I'm fixing it. I'm continuing to work on it. Oh, and by the way, if you're one of the more than 1 million active duty service members, you're going to be receiving a $1,776 check as a gratitude from the United States for your continued service to our country. So just another miserable night for Democrats. They don't have any issues. They don't have any policies. They want to go online and claim that the White House's stats on gasoline are inaccurate, even though you can literally go to publicly available websites like GasBuddy, like the AAA Gas Tracker, and see what the cost of gasoline is. You can do that. I mean, any person does. You don't have to be an investigative journalist. You don't have to have any sort of internal knowledge of how the gas industry works, oil and gas industry works. You simply just have to go to a website like GasBuddy, which is free and available to see that. And even that is a bridge too far. So another miserable night for the Democrats. And again, kind of closing where we began, a very strong speech from President Trump. He stayed on message, read through his speech, didn't go down all of these, we see him from time to time. I love the president, but he gets down these rabbit holes and these speeches that should be 15, 20, 30 minutes turn into 2.5, 3 hours because he gets sidetracked and goes down. It's important stuff, but 3 hours is a long time to listen to somebody. And I think he did a great job. Thought it was a strong, powerful speech, slamming the Democrats where they need to be slammed, highlighting his accomplishments and admitting that more needs to be done, that progress is going to continue. I think it was one of the strongest speeches that the president has ever given. I think so. Having watched it, lasted about 20 minutes, strong, to the point, direct, highlighting the wins, not saying that everything's over yet. Still a lot of progress to be made. Very good stuff from President Trump. Comment coming in, reading awful reactions to the speech on Facebook has been funny. And of course, there's got to be awful reactions. Because what do the Democrats have? What are they going to say? We would do better handling the economy. You and I know damn well that's not true. What are they going to say? We do better handling international issues like wars that are brewing across the world. We know absolutely that that's not true. Wars started all over the place under the Biden administration. What are they going to say? We'd handle the issue of illegal immigration better than Trump. They allowed 20 plus million illegal immigrants into the country under the span of 4 years. So what are they going to do? Highlight their accomplishments on these issues? They don't exist. So as always, when there's nothing else to talk about, when there's nothing that they can say is, actually, we would do this better, we can do this better, they go back to the well of Trump is an authoritarian, he's mentally ill, he needs to be impeached. Oh, look at how weak he is. He could barely hold himself up from the podium. This guy is crippling in front of us, in front of the Oval Office. Oh my God, he needs to be impeached, invoke the 25th Amendment. That's all they can go back to. I mean, they'll, of course, completely ignore the fact that he hosted a live primetime speech at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. They will ignore all of that and try and claim, oh, Trump looked a little weak. I'm sure that's probably, oh, Trump looked weak in that speech. He didn't look healthy. Look at Trump. Look at it. He looks sick. He looks sickly. He looks like he's falling apart, crumbling into pieces right in front of our very eyes. Look at how he's holding himself up from the podium. He might not even be able to stand anymore. That's the reaction from the left in the immediate aftermath of a 9 p.m. primetime address. Why is that the reaction? Because there's literally nothing else to talk about. So we'll claim that Trump's health is failing. This is the same party that admonished the Biden administration and ignored a president who was hidden for weeks or months at a time. And when he was seen in public, looked like a Roomba bouncing around, bumping into the walls and chairs. And once again, they're going to lecture you and me. They're going to tell us that the president's health is failing, even though there's no evidence of that. There's no video. There's no photos. There's no reports. There's nothing to back that up. They'll tell us that that's the case because, again, there's nothing else. And these are the same individuals that ignored all of this during 4 years of Biden. So we're not going to play their game. We're not interacting with this. We're not defending this stuff to you. You're not honest brokers of truth. You're not interested in fact. You're not interested in reality. You're not interested in receipts. You're interested in being nasty, being awful, and being a miserable person. Because that's all that the Democrats are at this point. They're just miserable. Trump has come in and hacked and slashed all of their nonsensical pet projects, continues to dismantle things like USAID, the United States Department of Education, just completely taking a wrecking ball to all of their things. And they're just miserable because of it. And they're not rebounding. That's the craziest part in all of this. I'm going to end on this note. They're not rebounding. They're not going back to the drawing board. They're not huddling around in the boardroom and looking at the whiteboard and saying, all right, we got to erase all this. We got to figure out what to do. Nothing. It's just Trump's a racist. Trump's evil. He's old and decrepit. He's falling apart in the Oval Office, and he's mean. It's a hell of a strategy going into 2026. I can say this with some level of certainty. If the economy improves dramatically, which I think there's a possibility that it does, if the economy improves dramatically over the span of the next 6 to 8, 10 months, it is going to be a very rough midterm election for the Democrats. That doesn't mean they won't have victories. It doesn't mean that they're not going to, Republicans aren't going to sweep them. But if the economy improves dramatically, which there's a strong possibility that it does, they're screwed. Because it's about the only thing that they can point at and say Trump's not doing enough on. Even though their ideas on the economy are terrible, it's easy to point the finger at the guy that's responsible for it now and put that blame, put that fault on him. So that's the president's address, presumably probably the last major public thing from him before we get into the New Year, Christmas 1 week away. You'll still see him, of course, unlike Biden. He'll be around. I don't know that you'll get any major things from the president. He does have a couple of events today, including the signing of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. That's happening in the Oval Office tonight at 6 p.m., which does include a major provision here in North Carolina, granting the Lumbee tribe of Robeson County, granting them full federal recognition, something that they have been fighting for literally 100 plus years for. So that is set to happen tonight. A major win for the folks of Robeson County, the Lumbee tribe, and individuals like former Representative Jared Lowry, his brother John Lowry, who is the chairman of the Lumbee tribe, but also a member of the North Carolina House. So we'll see that tonight, and we'll have those details coming up for you tomorrow morning right here on the Nick Craig Show. Want to thank the Law Group, Melissa Gott and her team for their continued support. Visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. That's going to do it for a Thursday edition of the Nick Craig Show. Don't forget, we stream live each and every weekday morning, 7 a.m., YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and available 24/7 wherever you get your podcasts. We'll do it again tomorrow morning right here on the Nick Craig Show.